Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Maximilian College Basketball Conference Tournament previews. And for today, we will be going over picks and analysis for the Big East Tournament. And always make sure to like, subscribe, and check out all the other conference tournament previews up on my channel. And we're talking about the Big East here. I'm not expecting too much on this one. Should be pretty short here because it's pretty self-explanatory. It's Johns and UConn and everybody else. The 1 and 2 are clearly the favorites here. UConn plus 100, St. John's plus 185. So the first thing I wanted to do here is, does anybody have a chance in Madison Square Garden to maybe make a magical run? And not really. And here's why, because you can make a case for like Creighton. For whatever reason, UConn always struggles with Creighton, but they're on the other side of the bracket. Same with Seton Hall. Seton Hall sometimes has maybe given UConn some trouble there, but again, they avoid them. And then Villanova, the 3 seed, I'm not taking them at plus 650 because I've talked about Villanova a bunch this year on my pick series. Whenever they play UConn or St. John's, we've been fading them because, like I said, when Villanova has to step up in competition, they have not done very well. They're 0-4 against UConn and St. John's, and for most of them, I don't think they covered. I'd have to go back and check, but I think we did pretty good betting against them in those games. Now, Kevin Willard has done an awesome job. He's got every ounce of production out of this roster that on paper isn't very good, which, like the Big East, this is just not a very good conference. That's why, it's literally UConn or St. John's. I'm not taking anybody else at these prices. Been super disappointing, though, as a Xavier fan. See them at 250 to 1. Trey Carroll's status is unknown, so I'm not taking anything there. Not that I would take them anyways, but yeah, it's kind of a bummer to see the Big East struggling this year. Hopefully the tournament is, still exciting because this usually is, one of my favorite tournaments to watch, in the Garden, one of the best atmospheres. And, it's usually just a lot of fun. And it does look like we are on a collision course for St. John's and UConn. So if you do like somebody now in that matchup, you can go ahead and lock in one of those prices. But I would be very shocked if it's not those two teams. Now, the last time St. John's played UConn, actually, it was a 72-40 game. St. John's played their absolute worst game. They could not make a 2-pointer to save their lives. UConn's rim protection was unbelievable in that game, and that is one of the strengths of these Hurley defenses in past years. But other than that, I don't expect St. John's to get tripped up at all because their last conference loss, that wasn't that UConn game, all the way back to January 3rd against Providence. St. John's was 18-2. Patino, he takes care of business here. So there's no reason to think we don't get St. John's and UConn in the final. Now, UConn has been kind of struggling, I guess you would say, of late. They started 12-0 in the Big East, and then they found themselves, they dropped 3 games, 2 in February, and then their most recent game, they just lost at Marquette. And, very disappointing there because they would have won a share of the Big East regular season if they just take care of business and beat Marquette. So, and I guess maybe we were talking about trip-up spots here. Marquette would be the likely team to play UConn in their first matchup. So I don't know, maybe UConn does get tripped up again, but I would think that Hurley can get revenge there. No problem against Marquette. So I think we're on a collision course for St. John's and UConn, pretty straightforward. Nothing. I usually look to make a case for an underdog or something, but I'm not betting this one. If I had to take someone, I'd probably take St. John's at the plus 185 because I just think these teams are very even, and I'm more confident that St. John's doesn't get tripped up versus UConn. As far as the NCAA tournament goes for these two teams, I am kind of out on UConn and out on St. John's because I just think this conference is very weak. I think these teams are really overrated. So I'm not looking to back these teams when tournament time comes. UConn just doesn't have that extra gear that those championship teams had. The years they went back to back, those UConn teams, they could throw two bigs at you. They had elite rim protection. And like I said, if one of those bigs got in foul trouble, you had another one to throw at. And they just had another gear that this team doesn't have. They were beating everyone by margin, but they just haven't been, crushing opponents in Big East play. So a little disappointed in UConn this year. And I don't think I'm looking to take any of these teams in the tournament. So that's what's going on in the Big East. Pretty straightforward here. Like I said, not really fun from a betting standpoint. I hope it's, fun to watch because this conference could use some juice. It's been kind of a disappointing year. So, and that will do it for the Big East tournament preview. Thanks so much for watching. Go ahead, like, subscribe, and check out all the other conference previews up on my channel. Thanks for watching and best of luck.